started out in the early 1970s, worked in church-run kindergartens, and there were about, I think there were 5 Head Start programs across the island. The folks who worked in many of these centers were women whose children had gone back to school and who really wanted something to do to contribute to the community. And so most actually, were not trained in early childhood education. Today we have blended programs, we have online programs. In the early days, everybody came into the classroom and everybody took the same thing all at the same time. And if you missed something, too bad, you had to come back the next year to get it. What I find in the difference between early childhood educators then and now, and we had talked about this a bit earlier, that early childhood educators tended to keep to themselves and shut the door, and what happened inside was between you and the 4 walls, and sometimes the parents, but not even often the parents. Today, early childhood educators are thirsting for new information, are up on the latest of child development, brain development, and so on, and it's so much more complex than it was in those days. I believe to some degree that has lost a bit of its credibility, if you wish, but also needs to be a part of what happens today. We have a lot of focus on cognitive development, we have a lot of focus on brain development and the benefits of play. Play in those days was free play. Play today is a child's work, and we always knew it was a child's work, but you know, it tended to be more free play, and that even in and of itself was free for all play, really.
We have parents that are really involved. Parents used to just come in, drop off, come back, pick up, and leave. Now we have parents that come in on weekends to help decorate the center or to help prepare play yards. We have parents that are really interested in everything that's happening in the center. They make phone calls. They're checking with us to see what's happening in the program and how can they help and is there something that they can do. They're just really, really involved, whereas it used to be just a place that you dropped your children off so you could go to work. Now parents are starting to understand that there's a very strong educational component to what happens, and they're sending their children in even when mom's home on mat leave, which is something that never used to happen. And we see children that are in, even if mom's at home, she recognizes that the children need to build those social skills that are so important to be successful in school, and they're recognizing that early childhood centers is the place to make that happen. Children are children at the heart. They are still full of pea and vinegar. They're busy. What I have noticed is that we have more supports in place for those children who may have challenges somewhere along the way. There's more understood about children even that young, that we need to get in and do assessments and to help them around children who may have dealings with autism or with speech therapy or physical therapy and so on. It's really starting to be recognized that that needs to be dealt with at a very early age as opposed to waiting until they start grade school, so that we have much more support and interaction with those professionals in our field. And 30 years later, the kids still climb trees and they still eat rocks and put rocks up their nose, and they're still brilliant and funny and make me so happy that this is a job that I go to every day. There's no other job in the world I know that when you walk in and you do this, somebody runs into your arms and hugs you and kisses you and thinks that you are the most beautiful, brilliant, special person that ever drew a breath because you got a dandelion from them the day before and told them that it was the most beautiful flower you had ever seen.
You know, we had a policy around staffing and programs and health and safety of kids. The only difference is as you progress and, you know, get some of those early measures down pat, you just move on to others. So policy hasn't, from a government, from an act and regulations point of view, hasn't changed a lot until we had the early years centers, of course, PEI. But I was thinking a lot about the ECDA and the membership and how, you know, in spite of everything else, it's been the membership of the ECDA who's changed the policies, hired trained staff and saw the need to train staff and advocated for trained staff. So that's made a considerable difference. They They've, you know, even as little as set operating hours. I mean, hours were kind of a fictitious thing way back when, but, you know, they're firm on that now. Criminal record checks with staff, parent handbook. You know, parents no longer walk into your center and say, in the morning, and say, this is Sonia, and she's going to be here with you today, and take a registration form and walk out. You were lucky if you had a contact name and number in those days. And that's really, you know, that's because centers have changed and learned from each other, and because the ECD has facilitated that communication with each other. That's how that's happened, in spite of government policy.
Well, probably the most significant change has been in the last 5 years. Our programs had always been so prescribed. Every fall was all about me or apples or Thanksgiving and everything in the box was what I put in the box. And everything that the children learned was what I thought they should learn. When emergent curriculum first came in, I remember talking to my coach and saying, you know, I think we'll probably try it 2 days a week. And just so that we could throw out everything for 2 days and just see what happens. You know, but we didn't have a good understanding of it at the time. We thought what emergent meant was whatever emerges happens, but it truly isn't that. It's probably more hard work than the prescribed curriculum we used to have in our thematic boxes. One of the things that used to be on our timetable was free play. It embarrasses me. It embarrasses me to think that that's how it used to be. Sometimes when new people come in, they'll say, so does that just mean you do whatever they want to do? No, it doesn't just mean you do whatever they want to do, because, I mean, maybe they just want to have dinkies out for 4 days straight too. But if you incorporate some other things into what they're interested in so that they're still learning the valuable concepts. I believe that for people who are going to Holland College now and are learning the new way, they're embracing it right off the bat. For us, it was a very big shift. For some of us, it was more of a shift than for others.